For this task, we're going to work through the processes used to create a box of chocolates, which you might think is a tray. So it's going to involve a few steps. So the first thing is this is our new version of PTC Creo. So you need to go to your programs area and make sure you locate PTC Creo Parametric 3. You may find an icon onto the desktop. First thing you got to do is you may see all these screens come up here. We don't actually need any of those. So you can do a couple of things. You can close it to get rid of it, or you could just go simply up the top here and go File, New. Now this is one of our advanced stages. So what we're going to do is go File, New, and we're working with an assembly part. Now for the time being we'll leave it as a default name, but ideally you should be changing this to say box of chocolates or tray of chocolates. Remember, we can't use spaces. If you ever do it, it is an underline. So I'll just give it a very quick name, tray choc. Now of course that's going to save it anywhere. We would of course set our working directory, which we've explored before, to make sure that we're saving into the right location. There's no problems. So once you've done that, go OK. And we'll get this screen come up. Now of course we've got our different surfaces that we're dealing with here. So we've got our tops and fronts, and we've got our right. So we'll just go onto the top. So we'll click here and we're going to go to assemble. Now part of the activity is you need to have access to these files. So on Canvas you will have a number of links that describe each one of these files, and you need to download each of them because you're going to make a combined part that fits together. So on my computer I've actually saved it to the desktop for quick process. So I go to the box of chocolates. First thing I'm going to deal with is the chocolate tray. We're going to open that, and that's going to place it here. Now just to explain a couple of things that are happening on the screen. This feature here allows us to toggle and move the tray around. As we're in introduction to this process, I don't really want you to move it. All I want you to do is move to the top here where you see the word automatic, click on the drop down menu and go default. And what that will do is lock it in place. You can now see we can no longer move it around, and the color has actually changed. Once you've done that, put a tick here and that will lock it into position. That's our first step. Now we'll look at a couple of features before we go any further. First one is if we want to rotate the object, we can click on our scroll and move our mouse and rotate it around. But what's going to commonly happen is you'll get it out of whack and you won't be able to get it back into the order that you originally had it. So a shortcut key is just to go to Control D, which will place it back in the original view that you had at the start. Some other quick things are the types of displays that you've got. You can remove some of the viewing features that you're looking at on the screen. If you don't want to see all those objects there, you can remove the orientations that you've got. You can also rotate to different views. So back, we'll do it automatically. Front, which is that edge there. Bottom, which is obviously the bottom. Top, which is what we started with, which was our original one. And you also have the option of getting rid of additional things so you can make it easier to see. So you can choose the type of view you've got with reflection, but most commonly you'll just use the basic option of shading with edges. If it's too far away, you can scroll in, scroll out. As you scroll in a particular area, it will focus on that. Remember, Control D will get you back to your original view. So let's bring in a part. So let's do one that's relatively easy, and I'll go through a couple of steps. The first one is we're going to do the round, which is the circle. We open that up, we've now brought it in. If we look a bit closer, you'll notice that we've got this feature here of being able to move it around. You can turn that feature on and off by clicking at the top of the screen here on the Hide 3D Dragger. Click on it, it disappears, it brings it back. You may find that these boxes that surround it get in the way, and I showed you earlier where you can go up the top here and you can actually remove the view of what you're seeing and it will get rid of it. But we'll leave it there for the time being. Bring back our 3D Dragger. Now you'll notice that if I sort of rotate the view so we see it side on, it's not right. It's facing the wrong direction. So what we want to do very quickly is rotate it so it orientates roughly close to what we want it to be. And you'll notice now it's pretty close. Now I have seen students in the past do this, drag it in and say, I'm done. But what you'll notice is, height-wise, it takes a bit of fiddling to get it in. And of course I can just drag it and move it out. It's not truly where it's supposed to be. So we're going to actually get it where it fits perfectly in there by using a few joining tools. The first one is we want the base to be flush with this surface at the bottom. So there's a couple of tools we've got. we've got angle offsets, and we've got coincidence. So coincidence is a tool that will line it up perfectly, and that's what we're going to focus on today. So the first part of the task is to click on the base. While that's there, and I've clicked on it, I can click on the middle scroll button and scroll the surfaces around. Now, of course, I know that base is meant to be lined up right on that surface. If I click on that, what it's done is it's moved it straight to coincident. You might find it's got some of these other options in here. You may need to adjust some of those settings to get it in place. But as you see, it's way off track. It is not anywhere near where it's supposed to be. So we want this rounded surface here to be on this edge. You'll notice it's half and half. So I click from there, go straight across as long as I can see it, click, and as you see, that's actually now lined it up perfectly flush. And Control D so I can get my view back. I'm happy with that. It's all finished, it's all lined up. Once you've done that, tick, and that is locked into place. That won't move. You then move on to the next task, and as you'll find, these will increase in complexity as you move along. So we'll do one more. We'll do the oval. Should work in a similar fashion. We've got that in there. Now if we look at this one, flat one side, and it's got a rounded edge on top. So same thing, we need to rotate it so it's flush, bring it up so it's relatively level so we get an idea of what we're working on. First step is that we want the base, clicking there, scrolling around, moving to here to be flush. We're still locked on coincidence, so that's actually worked out okay. Next step is we want to get the edges lined up. Now you might find zooming in is a bit easier, so click here, zoom out, rotate a little bit. Now that edge for the first one's not really going to matter, but we obviously want it lined up there. Now that has made it so that that edge is facing flush there. So ideally what we should have done is we've got a bit of a problem that's going to come up here. Let's see if it'll fix itself. But what we've got is, no matter how I'm really going to do this, that surface I selected should have been that one on this side here. So I'm going to show you how to fix that, because that's bound to happen quite a lot, and we need to get that sorted out so you know how to fix that. So what we can do is that coincidence edge there, you can right click and hold down your mouse button and select delete, and that's now removed that surface because that is not how we actually wanted it to be. So let's fix it. So that surface there should be flush with that one there. And we now have our coincidence line actually matching up. But what seems to have happened is I seem to have broken it. You'll notice it's no longer matching, actually flush. And I've got this constraints invalid at the top. So this can happen occasionally, and you'll notice it's highlighted. So obviously it's saying, no, I don't like what you've done. It's a bit of a problem here. And if you actually look here, our original base we had that was flush is no longer actually flush. We've actually sort of wrecked it by choosing our incorrect surface. So this can happen to you a lot. So it's very key. If you want to remove and undo what you've done, you can start again very easily. Just right click, remove those surfaces and put them back. So let's line them up. It's looking flush again, that's looking better. Because remember, it isn't flush to the base, it does sit partly in a little bit to the way that it looks. Now let's move on. Our next surface should be there. Now you notice it's starting to line up. Let's get our end that goes across into here. And our chocolate is now built in. Ticket, locked away. Now what can happen is over on the left hand side, if you see a little square or rectangle, that's telling you there's an error with the way that you've actually got your view. It will increase in complexity as you move up to the squares, the triangles, diamond, or as a mathematical term, a kite. And we have our other, what do we got? Shape there as well. That should give you a bit of a start. Have a play with each one. Make sure you bring each one in as you actually do it.